My name is Camille Rhodes, and on May 19th, 2013, I died. I wasn't in a hospital. I wasn't old or sick. I was on my way to work, sipping coffee from a paper cup and humming a gospel song that had been stuck in my head since the night before. The sun was just peeking through the clouds, and I remember thinking it was going to be a beautiful day. I had no idea that before I even made it to the highway exit, I'd be flatlined, clinically dead, and on a journey that would change everything I thought I knew about my life, my purpose, my people, and the spiritual war being waged over us. It started with a sharp pain in my chest, so sudden and strong I dropped the cup in my lap. My hands went numb, my vision blurred. I tried to pull the car over, but everything went black before I could touch the brakes. I was told later that I crashed into a guardrail and the car flipped. When the paramedics got there, I wasn't breathing. My heart had stopped, but I wasn't aware of any of that at the time, not in the way people might expect. I wasn't trapped in my body. I was above it. I remember hovering above the wreckage, watching EMTs work on me, shouting codes into radios, trying everything to bring me back. I saw blood running down my forehead. My body looked like a stranger to me, like something I used to wear. But even in that moment, there was no fear. There was a peace so thick, so deep, that it wrapped itself around me like a warm coat in the middle of a storm. I felt all the pain of life melt off of me, years of stress, of shame, of questions, of heaviness I didn't even know I carried. I felt lighter than I ever had in life. And then, I was pulled upward. I didn't resist. It felt like I was being drawn by something invisible but powerful, something that knew me better than I knew myself. The higher I went, the more I felt this love pouring into me, not romantic love, not earthly love, but something ancient, wholly absolute. A tunnel of light opened above me, so bright it should have blinded me, but it didn't. It welcomed me, and as I entered that light, I could feel the presence of others around me, souls that had gone before me. I didn't see faces, but I could feel their warmth, their joy. They weren't speaking, but they were encouraging me, comforting me, like they were saying, "You're safe. Keep going." Then, ahead of me, someone stepped into the light. I didn't need to ask who it was. I knew. It was Jesus. There is no human language that can capture what it feels like to stand before him. The moment I saw him, my knees gave out. Not from fear, but from the weight of who he is. He radiated love, but not just love, authority, holiness, truth. I couldn't look at him directly, but I didn't need to. Every part of me recognized him, not just as a savior, but as the one who knew every page of my life, every tear I cried, every question I buried. And yet, he didn't come to judge me. He came to show me something. He said my name, clear and calm. "Camille," he said, "you are not here by accident." And when he raised his hand, the light shifted. A vision opened before me, not like a movie on a screen, but like I was inside of it. I was no longer in the heavenly realm. I was somewhere else entirely, somewhere ancient, somewhere sacred. I saw a land glowing with golden light, lush and vibrant. I saw cities, ancient, majestic cities, built with purpose and brilliance. I saw people, black people, walking with their heads held high, surrounded by wisdom and spiritual depth. These weren't images from books or documentaries. This wasn't the Africa I'd been taught about in school. This was something deeper. This was holy. Jesus stood beside me and said, "This is the truth the world has hidden." I saw generations of Black people living close to God. Prophets, seers, healers. They didn't need churches to connect with the divine. They walked with it. It was in their breath, their rhythm, their prayers. They knew God before anyone tried to define him with doctrines and labels. I saw families teaching their children about the stars, about the land, about the voice of God that lives inside us. It was beautiful. It was sacred. And then the vision darkened. Chains, ships, suffering. I saw bodies stacked like cargo. I saw names stripped away, language, identity, dignity all stolen. And behind it all, I saw spirits, dark, deceiving spirits, rejoicing at the destruction. These weren't just political or social events. What happened to Black people was spiritual warfare. Evil wanted to destroy the knowledge they carried, not just to oppress bodies, but to silence souls. Jesus said to me, they were not targeted for weakness. They were targeted for their strength. I wept. I wept like I've never wept before, because I realized we've been walking with amnesia. We forgot who we are, not just as people, but as carriers of divine wisdom. And that forgetfulness wasn't accidental. It was forced, systematically, spiritually, violently forced. But Jesus wasn't done. He showed me modern times, our time. I saw Black men and women waking up, not just intellectually, but spiritually. I saw them casting off mental chains. I saw them rediscovering their voice, their worth, their calling. I saw artists, teachers, parents, pastors, healers, all stepping into their purpose, not for fame, but for truth. And I saw them leading others of every race into a deeper understanding of God. Jesus turned to me and said, "The time of revelation has begun. They will rise again." That moment changed me forever. The moment Jesus said, "They will rise again," I felt something ignite in me, like a spark that had been buried under years of silence and doubt suddenly caught flame. My heart ached with the beauty and pain of what I had seen, but just as I reached out to stay in that place a little longer, the vision started to pull away, like fog drifting off the surface of a lake. The light dimmed. The sound of divine melody faded into the background. And Jesus, with one last look full of fire and compassion, said to me, "You must speak. The world needs to know the truth." And just like that, I was back. My eyes opened to bright lights, beeping machines, and a nurse gasping and shouting for help. I was lying in a hospital bed, tubes in my arm, a heart monitor racing like a drumline. A doctor rushed in and stared at the screen. "She's back," he whispered, almost like he didn't believe it. I had been out, clinically dead, for almost 20 minutes, and somehow I was back. But I wasn't the same. Everything felt different. I felt alive in a way I never had before, not just physically, but spiritually. I could still feel his presence lingering over me, like a warm blanket tucked around my soul. In the days that followed, the medical staff couldn't explain how I survived, let alone why my scans came back clear, no lasting damage to my heart, no signs of trauma. They called it a miracle, but I knew it was more than that. It was an assignment. The hard part wasn't what happened in heaven, it was what happened next. I told my story to my sister first. She sat at the edge of my hospital bed while I tried to describe what I had seen about Jesus, the field of gold in Africa, the divine identity of Black people, the spiritual battle we didn't know we were in. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. "That's a lot," she said. "Maybe it was just a dream. Maybe it was the medicine. That hurt, but I understood. It was too big to wrap your mind around, especially when you've been conditioned your whole life to believe something smaller." I tried telling a few friends. One of them actually laughed and said, "Girl, I love you, but that sounds like some Wakanda church fantasy." Another friend told me I needed to be careful. "You don't want people thinking you're one of those conspiracy nuts," he said. Even the pastor of my old church gave me a strange look when I shared my story. He said, "It's good that you had an experience, but we have to be careful not to mix cultural identity with theology." But I couldn't be silent. The more I tried to tuck the message away, the louder it burned in me. It was like a fire shut up in my bones. I started sharing online, small at first. A blog post here, a voice note there, and then a video. I sat in my apartment, turned on my phone camera, and spoke my truth. I cried while telling it. I trembled, but I told it. I said, "This is what Jesus showed me. Whether you believe it or not, whether you're ready or not, the truth is rising. And you need to hear it." That video went viral. I started getting messages from all over. People said things like, "I've always felt like there was something more to our story." Others said, "I had a vision like this too, but I never had the courage to share it." There were people from Nigeria, the US, Brazil, the UK, the Caribbean, Black people across the world saying the same thing. I feel like I've been asleep, but now I'm waking up. But as the light grew, so did the darkness. Videos of mine started disappearing without warning. Emails were deleted from my inbox before I could even open them. My phone glitched constantly. One night, my entire laptop shut down and never turned back on. I brushed it off until the night something showed up in my apartment. I had just finished praying. I was sitting on the floor with my Bible open when I felt the air shift. Heavy, thick, cold. And then I saw it. Something dark in the corner of my room. Something watching. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But I could feel its hatred. I was terrified. Frozen. I couldn't scream. But I whispered, "In the name of Jesus, leave." The second I said his name, it vanished. Gone like smoke and wind. I collapsed to the floor sobbing. And that's when I fully understood this wasn't just about telling a story. This was war. From that day on, I never hesitated again. I knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about reclaiming a cultural narrative. It was about breaking a spiritual curse that had hung over generations. The enemy didn't care about our skin. He cared about silencing our identity, our connection to the divine, our role in God's restoration plan. Because once we remember who we are, the darkness loses its grip. And then something beautiful happened. I started meeting others who had seen pieces of the same vision. Some were elders who had dreamed of golden lands but were too afraid to speak. Some were teenagers who saw Jesus in their sleep and woke up with a purpose. Others were scholars, artists, musicians, all being pulled by the same thread. We formed a community, not a church, not a cult, not an organization, but a spiritual family. We called ourselves the Remnant. We studied, we prayed, we shared dreams, and we knew we were being prepared for something big. That's when the second vision came. It happened while I was asleep one night. I was back in the presence of Jesus. This time he showed me the earth, not as it was, but as it would be. I saw fires, floods, earthquakes in places that had never shaken before, nations unraveling, fear sweeping across governments and cities. I saw deception rising, media feeding lies, false leaders leading churches, people being told to sit down, shut up, stop asking questions. And Jesus said, the world must be shaken before it can be restored. But he didn't leave it there. He showed me the new world, the one that comes after the storm. I saw people living in truth, not chasing status or money, but walking in love, in balance and freedom. And leading them were those who had been rejected, overlooked, and oppressed. I saw people with brown skin, with full lips and thick hair, speaking truth that couldn't be denied. I saw a world where truth could no longer be hidden because the veil had been torn away. Jesus looked at me and said, victory belongs to those who walk in truth. And then I woke up. That dream didn't leave me. I still feel it every day. I still hear his voice in my spirit. And I share all of this now because this isn't just my story, it's yours. Whether you're black, white, brown, whatever, God is lifting the veil. Truth is rising. The question is, will you rise with it? If this testimony stirred something inside you, don't ignore it. This is more than a story, it's a calling. We're in a time of awakening, a time where lies are being exposed and identities are being restored. You have a role to play. Whether you're rediscovering your purpose, reclaiming your voice, or just beginning to seek, this is your moment. Share this video with someone who needs to remember who they are. Like, comment, and tell us, what truth are you walking in today? Because now's the time. The veil is lifting. The Spirit is moving. Will you stay asleep, or will you rise?